The nebulous sea raged around the old mining ship Drifter, casting a lavender glow across the battered hull. Inside, alarms whined. Mira's knuckles whitened on the controls as plasma bolts streaked past their viewport. Rival scavengers already. "You ever flown through an ion storm, rookie?" Captain Voss's voice crackled over the comm. He sounded more amused than concerned. Mira didn't answer. Her heart thudded in her chest as she threw the Drifter into a sharp roll. Streaks of cosmic gas obscured the scavenger's sightlines just long enough for her to evade. Sweat beaded at her brow, but she forced herself to focus. Failure wasn't an option here. "She's got guts, I'll give her that," drawled Lin, the surly mechanic, as he braced himself against a bulkhead. The ship shuddered. A warning flashed. External breach imminent. "All hands to stations. Those pirates mean business," Voss barked, striding through the chaos. He shot Mira a measured look, eyes flicking to the coded tattoo on her wrist. "Keep us in the nebula's shadow. Everyone else, get weapons online." As Mira dove the Drifter deeper into the swirling cloud, the view screen danced with the promise and danger of Stardust teardrops, glinting shards drifting like fireflies. The element could breathe new life into dying colonies or blow a hole clean through the hull. No room for mistakes. Outside, the pirates' sleek interceptors vanished in flashes of static, unwilling to brave the storm. Mira exhaled, chest tight with relief. "We lost 'em, for now," she said, fingers trembling as she let go of the stick. Lin tossed her a grim smile. "Nebula's just as deadly as any guns out there. Don't get cocky." Mira nodded, forcing herself to remember every detail, the crackle of the air, the shake of the Drifter, the unspoken question in Captain Voss's eyes. She was here for a reason, but tonight, survival came first. "Well flown, Mira," Voss said quietly as the tension faded. "Welcome to the crew." As silence settled, Mira's gaze locked on the nebula's heart. If the legends were true, that swirling darkness hid more than treasure. Her past wasn't far behind, and if she played this right, maybe humanity's future wasn't out of reach. The Drifter limped through the nebula's haze, its shields humming as volatile ions licked the hull. Everywhere Mira turned, survival clung to the walls like frost. Makeshift repairs, charred wiring, scavenged plates bolted atop old scars. She wiped her brow and headed for the flight deck, footsteps echoing off metal grates. Lin had already cracked a coolant line wide open. "If you want the ship to stop overheating, don't throw her into a double-barrel roll," he griped, never looking up from his tools. Mira shot him a sheepish look. "Rather sweat than get blasted by pirates," she shot back, voice steadier than she felt. He snorted. "Girl's got nerve. Captain, see that tattoo yet?" Mira's hand ghosted over the insect-like design inked into her wrist. "He looks at everything, I can tell." Before Lin could retort, Captain Voss's voice filled the hallway. "Mira, to the map room." In the cramped heart of the ship, Voss stood before a rotating holomap of the nebula. Teardrop clusters blinked as golden pinpoints, shifting with every turbulent spike. On the edges, red sigils marked known hazards, and near the center, a pulsing blue glyph. "That's our target," Voss said, gaze steely. "A Stardust teardrop the size of a freighter. Get it, and every choking colony on the rim owes us. Miss it, and we're space dust." Navi, the AI navigator, flickered into being, her spectral face unreadable. Unstable signatures detected. Rings of interference increasing. Narrow approach corridor predicted, 9.2 minutes before collapse. Mira studied the approach vectors, mind racing. "That path runs right through the Selene Rift. We could end up inside out." Voss smirked, impressed. "You know your cosmic anomalies. Didn't expect that from a rookie." Mira's cheeks flushed. "I read. She left out the months exiled on the rim, watching friends suffocate while she scavenged for oxygen." A tremor made the lighting flicker. Something big was moving out there. Voss's jaw tightened. "We either thread the rift or let someone else take the harvest. Your call, Mira. You're at the helm." Everyone waited, even Lin. Mira stared at the pulsing glyph. "We go," she decided. "If we play it safe, someone hungrier takes it." Voss nodded once. "That's what I needed to hear. Strap in, all of you. This is where the real story begins." As Mira took her seat and laid her hands on the controls, a sense of dread and excitement twisted inside her. She wasn't piloting just for credits anymore. If she pulled this off, maybe she could finally stop running from her past, and maybe, just maybe, humanity would get another chance to breathe. Gravity flickered as the Drifter nosed into the Selene Rift. a ribbon of churning electric blue gas where whole ships had vanished. Mira gripped the yoke, pulse roaring in her ears. On the display, corridors opened and blinked shut, each promising sudden death. Voss's voice reached her, low but certain. "You ready, Mira?" "No one's ever ready for the rift," she said truthfully, then threw the drifter into the narrowest gap. Through the cockpit canopy, lightning arced in sheets, turning sensor data to jitter. Mira's bones tensed as every warning light came alive. Shields peaking, hull integrities dropping, fast! Lynn yelled, one hand buried in a malfunctioning console. "Navi, keep the path marked," Mira barked, sweat trickling down her temple. The AI's voice was eerily calm. Course correction left 2 degrees, gravitational shear at 5% and climbing. Outside, the nebula throbbed with color. For a second, Mira saw reflections, ghosts of the drifter, flickering memories of lost vessels drifting just out of phase. She blinked, forcing herself to focus. "Hold on!" Mira punched the thrusters, sending the ship spinning between shockwaves. The hull groaned like a wounded animal. Lynn swore as he buried his tool elbow deep to stop a coolant leak spraying the deck. "She's holding, barely. If you get us through this, rookie, I'll owe you a drink, or maybe my left hand." Voss watched the young pilot with an unreadable gaze. "More than your hand, Lynn. Mira, next junction's choice is yours. The main flow we mapped, or that shortcut with less turbulence, but the sensors read unstable heat spikes." Mira hesitated, reading the patterns as the ship pitched wildly. The shortcut whispered promise, faster, cleaner, but every instinct screamed trap. The rift was merciless, but she'd learned to read danger. Trust yourself, she thought. No one else will. Main flow, she decided, voice trembling. Too much to lose. "A safe bet isn't always the best one," Lynn began, but Voss cut him off. "She's right. If we lose the ship, we lose everything. Mira, ride it. We just need time." With a grunt, Mira poured all her focus into the controls. Suddenly, light burst ahead. The rift opened out into a pocket of calm, at its center a dazzling comet-like object spinning within the nebula. Stardust Teardrop, alive with electromagnetic fire. Lynn let out a whoop. Voss merely nodded, a faint smile cracking his stoicism. Mira slumped, adrenaline rattling her bones. But the relief was short-lived. Across the scanner, another dot pinged to life, a shadow closing from the far side of the rift. Not just pirates, but someone was tracking their precise location. "We've got company," Mira said, jaw tight, "and they're not here to bargain." Lynn's smile faded. Voss, calm as the void, clasped a hand on Mira's shoulder. "Then let's show them what we're made of. All hands, battle stations." Mira's terror twisted into something sharper, harder. With the rift behind and an enemy ahead, there was nowhere left to hide. The drifter pressed forward, the ship's guts humming as they drifted into the nebula's calm heart. Outside, the Stardust Teardrop hovered, enormous and impossibly delicate, spinning slow pirouettes in the cosmic mist. The challenge: extract it without triggering a volatile chain reaction. The reward: enough breathable air to save thousands. Lights pulsed red as Voss barked orders. "Defensive grid up, Lynn. Get the harvester arms primed. Mira, keep us between the Teardrop and our new shadow." Lynn's fingers danced over the controls. "Extractors hot? Let's hope it holds, or we'll blow quicker than a core meltdown." Mira forced her hands steady, tracking the incoming ship, a lean, obsidian craft bristling with cannon clusters. Its signal painted the comms panel. "That's a Nightblade model," Mira said carefully. "Only one group flies them out here, the Syndicate." Voss's face was unreadable. "So they want the Teardrop, too." A smug voice cracked through the radio. "Drifter, stand down. You're in Syndicate territory. Leave the Teardrop and you get out breathing." Mira felt fury rise. "We made it through the rift. We're not leaving empty-handed." The Syndicate captain laughed, cold and metallic. "You're not leaving at all, then." The Nightblade's cannons powered up, humming with threat. Lynn cursed, scrambling to reinforce the shields. "She's got teeth, Voss. We can't go toe-to-toe." Voss's eyes flicked to Mira. "Think you can outfly them long enough for Lynn to start the extraction?" "I'll handle it." Mira's jaw set. She fired the thrusters, swinging the drifter in a looping arc around the Teardrop. The Nightblade chased, plasma bolts sizzling past the hull. The nebula's ions flared with each shot, painting the void with bursts of color. Voss grinned at Mira's bravado. "Draw them off. Lynn and I will get what we need." As the drifter ducked and wove, Mira caught her reflection in the glass, fear raw in her eyes but burning with purpose. She took a shaky breath. "Not running anymore," she whispered, banking away from the Nightblade's targeting feed. The Syndicate kept close, but Mira read their moves, each calculation, every hesitation. All her years scavenging on the rim, outsmarting bigger predators, came rushing back. She'd always been underestimated. Not this time. "Extraction commencing," Lin panted over the comm. "Mira, by 60 seconds. We're dead if you can't." The Nightblade's voice snarled. "Last warning." Mira grinned, adrenaline taking over. "Come get us, then." Lightning arced too close for comfort, but Mira spun the drifter through it, taunting the Syndicate pilot, keeping the deadly dance alive. Voss's voice sounded in her ear, warm with something close to pride. "Just a few more seconds, Mira. You've got this." For the first time since she'd boarded the drifter, Mira believed it too. Not alarms screamed as Mira coaxed the drifter through the nebula's shimmering gauntlet. The Syndicate Nightblade stayed glued to her thrusters, plasma rounds slicing too close. On the deck, lights flickered. One hit to the fuel line could mean instant oblivion. "Lin, status!" Mira called, fighting panic. "Extractors holding, but the core's overheating," Lin snapped. 30 seconds, or we're fried, literally." The Syndicate pilot's harsh laugh rang through the comms. "You run pretty, little drifter, but you can't hide." Mira's mind spun, hunting for a wild move. "See the currents," she remembered, her mentor's voice from dusty rim days. The nebula's electrons danced in chaotic streams, but Mira saw a pattern. A hidden slipstream ribbon just wide enough for a last-ditch maneuver. She yanked the controls, pitching the drifter into the slipstream. The ship rocketed forward, nebula particles sparking harmlessly across reinforced plating. The Nightblade's pilot tried to follow, too late. The current whipped their hull and sent sparks flying, forcing them to back off. "Nice move," Lin cheered, but Mira saw Voss tense. He tapped his wrist link, opening a secure channel to Navi. "Bring up atmospheric readings near extraction point. Any sign of instability, you cut the operation." "Confirmed, Captain," the AI replied. "Stardust resonance climbing, safe margin at 18 seconds. Mira looped back, each breath burning in her chest. The drifter shuddered as Lin counted down. "Almost done. 5, 4. Suddenly, the Syndicate ship surged forward, firing one last desperate shot. A blast rocked the drifter, blowing circuit panels and filling the cabin with the stink of ozone. Voss swore and yanked at a secondary console. "Lin, Mira, brace!" But Mira only fixed her eyes on the enemy, determination flaring. No more running. She spun the drifter around, using the recoil to swing the battered mining arm like a club. It caught the Nightblade's wing, wrenching both ships apart. The Syndicate vessel spiraled, trailing fire, disappearing into the violet clouds. "Got it!" Lin shouted. "Harvest complete! Everyone, hold tight!" Mira righted the ship, adrenaline soaring in her veins. Voss's hand found her shoulder, steady and warm. "Never seen flying like that," he said quietly, eyes shining. "Well done." "Saving the compliments for after we get out," Mira panted, scanning for more enemies. Lin's voice was softer than she'd ever heard. "We're alive, and we've got the Teardrop, but that blast, she's leaking air, Cap. We need repairs before the next leg." Voss nodded grimly. "Navi, plot a course to the nearest safe port. Mira, Lin, good work. But keep alert. The Syndicate doesn't lose gracefully, and someone on this ship made sure they found us." Mira's heart skipped. Betrayal, deadlier than any nebula. But she'd survived the worst space could throw at her. Now she'd have to survive her own crew. With the Stardust Teardrop secure and the drifter limping on emergency power, Mira's chest tightened as they broke through the nebula's edge toward the shadowy refueling port of Barlow's Spindle. The ragged station spun above a ruined moon, its docks buzzing with mercs, smugglers, and info brokers. Everyone here wanted something, and offered loyalty only for a price. Lin grimaced as he welded a hull patch over the worst of the Syndicate's damage. 5 more minutes and the whole oxygen grid would have vented. "We got lucky, Mira. Luck runs out." Mira shrugged. "Luck's all I ever had." Voss listened quietly, gaze fixed on the fractured viewport. Navi pinged proximity warnings every few seconds, reminding them that even here, in port, they were prey among wolves. Voss spoke low, so only Mira and Lin could hear. "We've got a saboteur. Syndicate's too precise. All those random course changes and they still ambushed us. Someone on this ship sent our path." Mira's mind raced. The drifter's crew was tight, but not family. She barely knew half their names. Hale, the silent life support tech, Dorn, who'd been with Voss since the old days, Jessa, always glued to a data terminal. Any of them could have cracked under pressure. "We can't turn on each other," Lynn said, half a plea, half a warning. Voss's eyes hardened. "We already fought the Nebula. Now we fight for the crew. Mira, I want your instincts. Watch the others. Be subtle." Unease rippled down her spine. Mira had survived by trusting no one. Now she was supposed to play detective among outlaws? The drifter moored with a jolt. Repair drones poured over the hull, seals hissing as they patched fresh wounds. Mira followed Voss to the Teardrop chamber, a sterile vault holding the gleaming, humming Harvest. Voss ran his gloved hand along the containment field, the glow bathing his face with gold. "If word gets out what we've got, the spindle will swarm with syndicate knives and desperate colonists alike," he murmured. "We move at dawn. Until then, Mira, you're with me." Suddenly, Lynn's shout blared over comms. "Intruder on deck! Repeat, we got a breach!" Voss pulled his sidearm, nodded once at Mira. "Stay sharp." They raced to engineering, pulse pounding. Hale and Jessa stood frozen, hands in the air. At their feet, a black-clad body sprawled, helmet cracked, syndicate colors. Navi's calm, chilling report. Intruder was ejected from ship's airlock system. Local override triggered by internal code. Origin, crew terminal, last accessed 41 minutes ago. Voss frowned. "Someone tried to airlock this syndicate agent the moment they got caught. If that's not a cover-up, I don't know what is." Mira locked eyes with the others. Fear, suspicion, resolve swirling in every stare. For the first time, Mira realized the true battle wasn't just survival. It was trust, and no one survived the Nebula alone. Barlow's spindle never slept. Its metal arteries pulsed with thieves, bounty hunters, and the desperate. Mira walked the decks with Voss, both keeping an uneasy eye on the crew. The syndicate saboteur's corpse had been handed off to the port authorities. No one asked questions, not here. But the tension clinging to the drifters' halls refused to break. At sunrise, Lynn pulled Mira aside near the airlock. He leaned close, voice rough. "Jessa's acting different. She was on terminal duty near the override. I saw her with Dorn arguing by the recycler last night." Mira nodded, watching Jessa through the window. Calm, almost too calm, punching data into her wristpad with mechanical precision. Something in her posture reminded Mira of herself. Someone hiding, holding secrets too tightly. Meanwhile, repairs crawled. Hale ran diagnostics, fingers trembling. Every few minutes, Jessa glanced up to check if anyone was watching her, lips pale, jaw set. That evening, as the crew convened in the mess, Voss banged his mug on the table. "Enough! Spill it!" Awaited silence. Jessa peered up, eyes ringed with sleepless shadows. "Someone left my access codes logged in. After the syndicate breach, Dorn shoved me away from my station. I think he's framing me." Dorn scoffed, but Lynn stood. "I saw Dorn swipe your link, Jessa. Why?" Dorn's fists clenched. "So you all trust a clever code monkey over the man who's bled for this crew?" Mira reached for the icy calm she called upon in the Nebula. "Maybe someone wants us fighting. Easier for a traitor to hide. Dorn, show us the logs." Dorn glared, but Voss fixed him with a dead-eyed stare. "Do it or walk out that lock." Grumbling, Dorn handed his wrist link over. Mira and Lynn scrolled the logs, timestamps, system overrides, terminal routes. Dorn's signature popped up again and again at odd hours. Hale's voice was a whisper, but cutting. "Explain those entries, Dorn." Dorn's cool broke. "All right, Syndicate blackmailed me when we were stranded at Titan's grave. They threatened my kid if I didn't leak coordinates." Voss's silence was terrible. "So you let them track us through the rift?" Dorn's shoulders sagged. "I thought I'd fix it before they came. I never meant." Lynn stepped forward, muscles bunching, but Mira held him back. "We all have someone to fight for, Dorn, but you put everyone else in the crosshairs." Voss nodded grimly. "We're getting off the spindle, and Dorn, you stay locked in the brig until the drop is done." As Dorn went willingly, Mira saw raw fear in every face. Trust was shattered, but necessity held them together. Mira cornered Jessa as the crew scattered. "You okay?" Jessa wiped her eyes. "I would have sabotaged us to keep the syndicate away, but I didn't. I want air in my lungs, not blood on my hands." Mira squeezed her shoulder. "You survived worse. So have I. Now we have a chance to outrun every shadow. We need all of us to make it matter." The team was battered, betrayed, but still standing. The fight for the Stardust Teardrop and their own redemption was just beginning. Mira checked the drifter's patched seams as dawn crept across Barlow's spindle. The Stardust teardrop glowed in its chamber, more potent and dangerous than anyone imagined. The crew moved like ghosts, eyes wary, every footstep echoing with the memory of Dorn's betrayal. Inside the now-repaired cockpit, Voss hovered over navigation charts. "We have one shot, a jump through Perseids Veil to the Commonwealth outpost. If we make it, we can trade the teardrop for safe haven and enough credits to buy freedom for every rimborn and drifter we've ever known." Mira felt the weight of it. All her life, she'd scraped by for herself. Now her choices could tilt fate for countless colonies. "But the Syndicate won't let this go," she said. "There's no way they aren't waiting beyond the veil." Lynn tapped a warning sign, blinking on the console. "There's chatter in local comms. The Syndicate has a fleet massing just outside the veil. If we hit the jump, the engines might overload, or worse, they could pull us out mid-leap." Jessa joined them, voice thin but certain. "There's one advantage. We know Dorn's override tricks. If they try to hack the drifter remotely again, I can shut them out. But it could fry half our systems. We'll only get one surprise." A shiver ran through Mira. "We make our own luck, so we do this fast, outthink them. We take the rift edge, hook around the veil, and punch a blind leap straight to the outpost." Voss grinned, a look Mira had never seen. "That's the spirit that gets legends written. Navi, prepare an emergency route. All or nothing." The crew jumped to stations as the drifter's engines fired to life, hull creaking under strain. Mira guided them out of the spindle, every nerve on edge. The nebula blazed ahead, Perseids Veil a swirling curtain of radioactive blue. "Initiating jump sequence," Navi reported. "Enemy ships on intercept vector." Lynn cursed, "Never just one easy day. Fire up the shields." Outside, Syndicate fighters sliced through the void. Voss barked, "Jessa, cut their comms. Mira, hold course no matter what. Lynn, ready the countermeasures." Alarms blared. Plasma bolts screamed past as Mira gritted her teeth, pushing the drifter to her limits. The Veil's gravity warped, pulling at their hull like fingers trying to rip metal apart. "Brace," she shouted as Jessa initiated an EMP burst. Syndicate comms died, their ships drifting for a precious moment. "Now Navi," Voss commanded. The drifter leapt, reality bending and snapping around them. Mira thought of every hungry colony, every gasping survivor she'd ever known. For a heartbeat there was only silence, and then alarms as half their systems went black, the Veil's radiation clawing at their shields. The drifter spun as gravity reasserted its grip. The crew wrestled with dying power, the Stardust teardrop throbbing with unstable energy, and Syndicate ships erupted back onto scanners, closer than ever. Hope and ruin spun together at the edge of the universe. Mira clung to the controls, refusing to let go. The drifter reeled on the far side of Perseids Veil, systems flickering from the EMP shock. Mira blinked away dizziness as she wrestled the ship into a semblance of control. The Stardust teardrop's glow pulsed between the deck plates, stronger and wilder with every second. "All hands, status!" Voss barked over the dying comms. A chorus of fraught affirmations. "Navi's offline! Manual nav only! Shields at 10%! Core temperature climbing!" Lynn was already in the guts of the ship, cursing as smoke billowed from the cooling manifold. "If I patch this, I can buy us 5 minutes, 10 if you pray hard. If not, we'll be the Veil's newest ghost story." Jessa's fingers flew over emergency backups. "Mira, I can give you engine power or life support, but not both." Mira's jaw clenched. "Give me engines. We don't outrun them. We don't breathe anyway." Outside, a storm of Syndicate ships flared into existence. Far more than Mira had expected, their formation blocking every approach to the outpost. Voss locked eyes with Mira, face set in steel. "This was never about the payday, was it?" Mira whispered, bitterness and hope crashing together. Voss shook his head. "The teardrop, the crew, it's more than money. It's the promise that humans can win where we're not meant to survive." Jessa's voice sliced in, urgent. "They're hailing us, asking for a full surrender. If we fight, the ship might blow. If we give up, they get the teardrop." Mira looked at her battered crew, then at the swirling nebula beyond. Every instinct screamed this was the moment she'd been shaped for. All her losses, every battle, every second scavenged from the jaws of space. She hit the comm, her words clear and cold. "This is Mira on the drifter. To the Syndicate fleet, this ship isn't for sale, and you're going to have to earn your prize." Syndicate fighters attacked in a dazzling storm. Lin patched the manifold just in time, and with a shout, Mira pitched the drifter into a mad, desperate arc. Jessa rerouted power, the lights stuttered, then glowed hot. Lasers and plasma lit space in an inferno as Mira danced the old ship through impossible odds. "You can't win, Mira," the Syndicate commander sneered through the radio. "You're one ship against 30. But Mira grinned, every scar, every ounce of pain, a weapon. "I just need 1 second. Lin, wild-eyed, called up from below. "Venting main core. Might buy you a blast radius." Voss, sweating, kept the Teardrop's containment field stable by raw will. Multicolored energy trembled at the brink of critical mass. Mira looked at her found family, Jessa's nerves of steel, Lin's battered but unbroken hands, Voss's undying belief. She banked the drifter straight toward the heart of the Syndicate fleet. "Ready?" she asked. All three nodded. Another volley, another hit. Decks shaking, lights flaming white. Death a hair's breadth away, but hope driving them forward. As the drifter roared into the Syndicate blockade, Mira prepared for the final gamble, one that could doom them, or ignite freedom for 1,000 worlds. The hull screamed as the drifter plunged through the Syndicate's blockade. Syndicate ships bracketed them with fire, but Mira moved on instinct, dodging, weaving, spinning the battered ship with a precision born of desperation and hope. Jessa's face shone with sweat as whatever she could wrangle of nav came alive. Lin roared from below, "Cores primed! Trigger on your mark, Mira!" Voss, hands steady on the containment field, shouted above the chaos. "If this works, the Teardrop's blast will fry Syndicate sensors. But you can't mess it up. The pulse could rupture the field. Even a second too late." Mira finished for him. "Then we vanish like all the others." Laser blasts hammered the wings, lighting arced from the jump drive. The Stardust Teardrop pulsed, heart of a new sun, ready to go critical. Mira's eyes flicked over the crew, her new family, so much more than outlaws, all thrown together, all counting on her. Jessa counted down, voice trembling but clear. 3, 2, 1. Mira punched the controls. Lin released the core vent. A corona of rainbow gold flared around the drifter, rippling out, a blinding electromagnetic storm. Syndicate ships shorted, engines flickering, weapons going dead. Mira took a single wild shot, rocketing through a fissure in the blockade as the Stardust Teardrop's pulse thundered in every circuit and bone. "Hold her together," Voss bellowed, the ship rattling like it would tear itself apart. Jessa rode the surge, rerouting every scrap of power. Lin kicked the failed core into silent, glowing cold. The drifter bucked but held. From the viewport the outpost loomed, salvation and sanctuary. Breathless, Mira watched as the Syndicate ships spun helpless in their wake, blinded, adrift, defeated not by firepower, but by determination, wit, and sacrifice. Navi flickered back online. Safe corridor ahead, docking, approved. "Welcome home, drifter crew." Voss pulled Mira into a rough embrace, eyes shining. "You did it. We did it. Not for profit, so others can breathe." Lin whooped, tears streaking down his soot-stained face. Jessa laughed, still shaking, as the outpost comm buzzed with frantic relief. Even wounded Dorn, released from the brig, managed a weak, grateful smile. Outside, the Stardust Teardrop glowed, its power now hope instead of a weapon. Human refugees flooded toward the docks, desperate for a chance the universe nearly denied them. Mira unlocked the vault herself, watching the Teardrop shimmer for them all. The crew stood together, not heroes, not criminals, just survivors who chose to fight for something bigger than themselves. Mira's eyes were raw, but her voice was fierce. "We're not finished, but today we survived. Today we changed everything." The story of the Nebula Harvest would travel light years, whispered by drifters and dreamers. How, when humanity's back was against the void, a crew of underdogs rewrote their fate with the stardust of new beginnings.